We used the Indian ingredients and created a global plate. So my mantra to my chefs was think Indian, cook global, because we had to make sure that the food appeals to the foreign dignitaries as well. So I use things like barnyard millet, which is samakka chawal, which is again a millet, sorghum, which is jawar. We use chattu mushroom from Odisha. We use Lekadong turmeric from northeast. So we brought multiple ingredients from across India on those four plates that we showcased to the world, and it was quite a I think impressive event. I think one and perhaps one and the first and the last one that I would have done in my life to that magnitude.
Hello and welcome to the Anahita Speaker Series presented by Carnegie India, celebrating stirring stories of empowerment, struggle, and success from women professionals in different fields across the globe. Stories we hope are bound to inspire young professionals. I'm Rebecca Aungshi, editorial coordinator at Carnegie India, and today we're honored to have with us Chef Manisha Bhasin, a corporate chef at ITC Hotels with extensive experience in hospitality and luxury catering. Manisha has led high profile culinary experiences for heads of state, including the President of the United States and other distinguished global personalities. With a strong background in hospitality management, customer service, and business development, she brings expertise in both large scale catering and hotel operations. She's a Cochrane Fellow from the University of Alabama, specializing in food safety and trends under the USDA program. Known for her innovative approach, she has introduced concepts like Dehlnavi and Pan Asian, shaping contemporary culinary experiences. Her work has been recognized with multiple national and international awards, reflecting her contributions to the industry. Chef Manisha, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Rebecca. Glad to be here.
Let's start from the very beginning.
Yeah.
From joining ITC Hotels as a management trainee in 1987 to becoming the corporate executive chef, you've had an incredible journey. What inspired you to pursue a career in the culinary world? And what were some of the pivotal moments that shaped your career? And how has your perspective evolved over the years?
So, Rebecca, to start with, I always had a very creative bent of mind, and I was always wanting to do something out of ordinary. And at home, I always got an equal opportunity. My parents never differentiated between girl or a boy, son or a daughter, so it was always an equal playing field at home. And as I grew up, I was introduced to the world of cooking by my grandmother, who, so every summer my mother would pack me off to my maternal grandmom's house, and there she made sure that every summer I got some kind of a skill, whether it was embroidery or cooking or something or the other, just to keep myself busy. And that's when I found that cooking is something that really, is up my forte. And my mother and my grandmother were much ahead of their time, highly educated, so they believed in women empowerment. I'm saying some 50 odd years ago as well. And as I was growing up in that household, I would go with my grandfather to buy vegetables and fish and whatever, and kind of got introduced to the world of ingredients. So that's how my journey started. And these intangible experiences, propelled me into the journey of culinary in the years that had to come. And then I think my decision to join ITC Hotels as a kitchen management trainee was perhaps the life changing decision that I took. And I was selected by other hotel chains also. I wouldn't like to name them, but they did not want that in that those years they were not taking girls in the kitchen. So I was offered the other side, but I just wanted to stay with ITC because they had belief in me, and they offered me kitchen management trainee, and that's where I am. So yes, so I've learned to question the paradigms and kind of challenge myself to overcome that, and that's where I have reached today. Yeah.
That's really great. And this is actually remind me of, so like, at home, it seems like Your parents, you mentioned, they did not really differentiate
Yeah,
between boys, but in the real world, things can be a bit tricky. And when we think about chefs, we always sort of imagine, like, people generally imagine a man, but you've
yeah.
kind of been able to break that wall, and you've emerged as one of the most popular Indian corporate chefs. So you've navigated this male dominated landscape and emerged as one of India's top corporate chefs. And what insights can you share about this landscape after you entered the profession? And has this affected your career journey, if at all?
So I think I've been very fortunate to work with the ITC Hotels, and that's my first and the only job, actually. I joined them as a management trainee, and 33 decades down the line, I'm still, continue to work with them. That itself speaks volumes about the environment and the kind of company that I work for. And here, performance played a very significant role in shaping my career. So I always got equal opportunities. I always got recognized for my performance. So it was equal playing field. However, there's a very interesting study, I may like to bring in here that, we always question that why simple things like cooking or, for example, stitching or something, I'm talking about some 30, 40 years ago, it was always a male domain. Because earlier, in early 1800 and 1900, whatever was brought money to the house, for example, it is cooking, then the man stepped in. The minute stitching, so you always had earlier very traditions, they were men tailors. So as to after 1960 or 1970, I think, as a society, we started accepting and asking women to step out also. So yes, it's been very interesting. And, when I'm at a leadership role today, I don't think I wear my gender, I wear my chef's coat. So the minute you wear a chef's coat, I actually don't think like a man or a woman, You start thinking like a chef. And I think that goes for any profession, any industry. If you ask the lady pilot, how does she feel to be a lady pilot? I don't think she thinks any different than a male pilot would think, or a doctor or any other. So why are we putting them in these blocks where, a lady pilot or a lady chef or a lady doctor? No, they're all professionals to start with. And that's how we start thinking as a professional. um, your question, how I navigated this male dominated landscape. I think if as a chef you are able to lead the team with a very sound technical background and administrative skills, at the same time, I think as a woman you are a little more empathetic also. That really works in your favor. And I think it's very important not to play gender as a card. The higher you go, you're on a equal field. You can't be playing your gender card ever. I mean, I've never played that. And if one is willing to work hard and have very clarity without any prejudices, I actually have mostly, I would say, my workforce, my team that reports to me, out of 90% are men. So I don't think they ever have any. They've seen any different in how I deal with men or women. You have to deal with them equally. That's the other side of it. So you have to be very sensitive to the fact that you're dealing with another gender. So you make sure that you try to treat each one equally. It was not so difficult and it's not so easy either. When I joined the hotel industry, not many chefs, ladies were joining the industry. But I think same goes for other professions also. So you kind of set a benchmark not only for yourself, but for the generations to follow. And you kind of, I think, just open the door a bit so that everybody can walk through that door. So that's what I think I did.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that response. Sustainability has been at the
Yeah,
core of your culinary
yeah,
philosophy
yeah.
long before it even became mainstream. So these days, people will be talking about what is the latest superfood and things like that, but you've been doing this for a long time. And in food, sustainability is often discussed in terms of sourcing and waste reduction, but in a lot of ways, it also ties deeply into cultural and legacy. How do you see sustainability not just as an environmental responsibility, but also as a way to preserve culinary traditions for our future generations?
So, sustainability is a very broad subject. It touches all parts of your life. If I'm going to say that let's limit only to the sourcing or reducing waste, no, it doesn't go that way. Sustainability has multi-pronged approach. Whether it is how you are using the ingredients, are you using the local ingredients? Are you using the seasonal ingredients? So if I'm not using the seasonal ingredients, then perhaps I'm growing something unnaturally, maybe using more water or less water, whichever way it is. So if I was to eat broccoli in summer, then it's a big no-no. So that is where also sustainability aspect comes in. I have to see what is grown locally within my region. If I'm going to import something from, let's say, thousands of miles, it's going to have carbon footprint. So all these parts have to be kept in mind. At the same time, the traditional ingredients, the artisan ingredients, which have a very major role to play in your particular cuisine. Today we are talking not only about the regional cuisine, we are talking about community cuisine. We are talking about micro local cuisine, which are there in the communities which are existing. So what are the food habits that they are doing, following? So I have always said that if we start living like our grandparents lived, we will make perhaps this environment issue little more less challenging to us. Even your eating habits. Today we eat. There's a problem of plenty. Our generation is handling problem of plenty. There's too much of everything available. Whether it is social media, whether it is clothes, whether it is shoes, whether it is food, everything is plenty. I come from a generation where we used to have 2 to 3 pairs of shoes. But today, I'm also guilty of maybe owning much more than that. So that is the problem we all have today. So if you look at the eating habits of our grandparents, they used to have 2 meals a day. One a very heavy breakfast, and one meal which should be just before the sunset. So if we follow that, a lot of our gut problem will get handled. We eat very late in the night and we go to sleep without letting the digestion do their trick. So everything is so interlinked. You really don't know where to start and where to end. But if you start looking at it from that perspective, you will find a lot of answers to the health, personal health, individual health, the environment health, and also society per se. You will see a better society improving. So that is my take on sustainability, which is, so it's not only environment. The minute I talk about wastage, now wastage is, what is the plate waste? Uh, it's not only the plate waste. You have to see how you can use the ingredient to go a long way. I remember when I was growing up, we used to make the matar chilka sabzi. You peel off the plastic skin and you would make chilka sabzi. It used to come out very well, full of nutrition. But today, if you tell somebody else to do it, they think that you are being little frugal or you are being little miser. No, that is not the case. However rich or however poor you are, nutrition is something that is required in your body, and you need to make sure that you create less and less waste for the planet. So that's my take on it. Sustainability is not only about ingredients; it's about the way of life. The slow living, the slow cooking, the well-being. It's all very, very interlinked.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Moving on to the next question. You have catered for global leaders and high profile dignitaries, including at the G20. A meal is an experience that reflects tradition, hospitality, and so much significance. How do you approach designing menus that go beyond taste and aesthetics and convey a deeper cultural or diplomatic message?
When you plan a menu, it is very important to have the respect for your ingredients and your heritage. So when I'm planning a menu, even let's say for example, when I was planning for G20, you look at how you can bring in so since we're catering to 40 heads of state from across the world, it was my responsibility to showcase what India is known for, the culinary heritage, the 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 various Vedas which are there, Ayurveda, which gives you so much of insight into what to eat, how to eat, when to eat. All these things are there. The culinary wisdom and certain ingredients, the way they're consumed, what kind of effect it has on your body. So I tried to blend all these, and we got into something that I call vertical tasting. That means you start the food with less spices and little lighter food, and slowly you build up the crescendo and you taper it down with the dessert. So it's like a musical note, you take it forward up and you bring it down gradually for it to finish as a very nice note, which is the dessert. So when I planned the G20 menu, I planned the menu keeping the Indian ingredients in mind, the forgotten grains. And it just so happened that that was the year of millet as well. 2023, the honorable prime minister had made that year of millet, and the world was following it. So we made sure that millet is in every course. You know, we used the Indian ingredients and created a global plate. So my mantra to my chefs was, think Indian, cook global, because we had to make sure that our food appeals to the foreign dignitaries as well. So I use things like barnyard millet, which is samakka chawal, which is again a millet, sorghum, which is jawar. We use chattu mushroom from Odisha. We use like a dong turmeric from northeast. So we brought multiple ingredients from across India on those four plates that we showcased to the world, and it was quite a I think impressive event. I think one and perhaps one and the first and the last one that I would have done in my life to that magnitude. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful, and if only we could have a little taste of what. Um, Beyond the kitchen, you've taken on a lot of leadership roles, including the vice chairperson of the World Association of Chef Societies. As a leader in the hospitality industry, what do you believe is the role of chefs in shaping food systems, and not just within restaurants, but in the larger discourse on food security, sustainability, and consumer habits? And you did mention, and you touched upon this in your last answer, but if you could elaborate just a little bit more.
So one of the main role of the chef today is to ensure that the plate that they're keeping is pure, because with so much of influx of manufactured and processed food which are coming into the market, of course that is a convenience that is required also, which is a very very important thing. But like I always say, that if you reduce the load and dependence on ready-made products and go towards fresh and what is locally available, you will make sure that your food that you're offering is healthy and also good for the body as well as soul. So today, this trend is not only limited to India; it is globally. I was overseas recently, and it was very good to see that the generations are getting the younger generation are getting more and more focused towards this endeavor, and a very strong belief system and commitment to serve clean food with low carbon footprint will help in creating the market for clean label and healthier food product preparation. So I think as a chef, you need to lead the agenda and kind of somewhere, make an informed choice for the consumer as well, that there are options available. I was recently attending a seminar on good health, and today everybody talks about the kind of inflammations that you have. So you can't really wish away these manufactured goods, but you can definitely reduce the load and have more dependency on fresh food. So I think as a chef, it is very important to have these kind of food systems in place and also use it in your restaurants. And also at the same time, today social media is a very very big tool, and a lot of chefs have great following. They have lakhs and lakhs of people who follow you. So that's a great tool you have in your hand, because your message can really reach out to the people who really matter. So maybe over there you can spread the good word and kind of start this movement where there is more and more focus coming back to healthier and cleaner eating.
Absolutely. And I know that a lot of work goes into putting things out and preparing and coming up with new dishes. And the culinary industry is known for its demanding nature. And you've been a champion of innovation and sustainability and leadership within it. And as you said, a lot of young chefs also look to you and to several other bigger chefs for inspiration. And what advice would you give young chefs and hospitality professionals who want to create this kind of meaningful change in the industry rather than just follow the trends that they see online?
I think the minute you do your education, formal education in the cooking and culinary, you're still finding your ways about. After a year or so, once you settle down and you know what you want, I think very important for a young budding chef is to create his own signature style. They should know what their calling is. Very important, and not necessarily you need to ape any chef. Create your own signature style. If you're from Northeast, like I'm from Delhi, so I created a Dehlnavi cuisine. I did a lot of research in that, and we actually created plates which were Delhi but yet very modern looking to approach to various different set of people. So you need to create your own style, whether it is through community cuisines, ingredients, and extremely important to be very passionate about what you do and have a very strong belief in that. Rest everything will follow in due course of time. It's important to focus on the basics and take one step at a time. Often I see young chefs, in their hurry to reach to the top, they get into molecular gastronomy, and all these fads have very little shelf life, because again you are bringing chemicals into your food, and that is something I absolutely don't believe in. I, I'm, I mean, I'm not, negating what others are doing. I'm sure they're doing a great job. But my personal belief is that I don't believe in any kind of chemical in my food that goes against my very ethos. So that is my calling. So you may like, some whoever wants to continue pursue whichever way they want to pursue, they must understand what is their core belief, and then work around it. If you hail from any southern state, maybe you want to bring forward the community cuisine that is never heard of. Maybe you will do a service to that particular community as well, and the world will see another take on the food. So I enjoy what I do, so it's never a working day for my life. So yeah, so that's my mantra. You enjoy your day, you do what you're really passionate about, and rest everything falls in place.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And as the corporate executive chef of ITC Hotels, you're at the intersection of tradition and innovation. So you kind of have to balance both, especially with foreign
Yeah,
dignitaries and things like that.
yeah.
So, is there a strategy? How do you balance heritage flavors with modern culinary trends without diluting the original recipe or taste?
Sure. So ITC Hotel does a lot of research and development. We actually invest very heavily on these initiatives. So on one side we have heritage restaurants like Dampukh and Bukhara, which is famous the world over. On the other hand, we also have Avartan, which is again showcasing the progressive South Indian cuisine. And I have recently launched Katsa, which is the take on again a take on traditional classical Western preparations with Indian ingredients. Of course, wherever the foreign ingredients are irreplaceable, we continue with that. But we try to bring in a great melange of Western and Western ingredients and Western preparations and Indian ingredients on one plate. That's a newly opened restaurant in ITC Gardenia, which is in Bangalore, which has a huge local wealth of ingredient. Bangalore and our surrounding areas have great produce, some brilliant produce which is available in the Western world as well. So that's where we try to showcase using Western ingredient grown locally, creating a Western mosaic of flavors.
Wonderful. And as we move to the end of the of this conversation, we'll have a quick rapid fire round. So just off the top of your head, if you could quickly, just in
Sure.
2 or 3 words, if I could ask you a few questions, and you can just respond. Between sweet or savory, which one is your favorite?
Sweet, always sweet. I eat less of savory so that I can indulge in sweets.
Thank you, and that is reflected in this wonderful conversation also. A dish you can cook blindfolded.
Biryani.
Wonderful. That's good. Lucky family members. One kitchen tool that you absolutely cannot live without.
I cannot live without my global knife. That is my knife that I guard with my life, and my lagan. That is a very versatile cooking utensil used in northern India, which is a very wide mouth, shallow vessel made of brass, and so that is something I can't live without. It's a very heavy base and cooks wonderfully Western as well as Indian food.
Okay. And if you weren't a chef, what would you be doing today?
I would have been an artist and a potter. That is something I do as a hobby as well. So perhaps I would have pursued more in that field.
Oh, I wonder what that timeline looks like. If you had to create a meal inspired by Delhi's street food, but with a
Yeah,
fine dining twist, what would
yeah.
you?
I would create Indian antipasti. Antipasti is a very French word for starter, so that's where my education comes into the whole thing. And being a Delhi girl, that's what comes in here. An Indian antipasti consisting of charts and with a twist using unheard of ingredients and grains from the ancient India.
If you could invite a historical or contemporary figure to a dinner you're cooking with, who would they be and what's on the menu?
Or historical or a contemporary? Okay, I'll go with contemporary. I think I would like to cook for Prime Minister Modi. I really look up to him, and I know that I have not cooked before. I've cooked on many occasions in the past as well, but it'll be good to cook for him once again because he's he believes a lot in the clean eating, and also he showed the world the path of millets, and brought it to the limelight and put a lot of pride in our own culinary heritage as well.
And what would be on the menu? Let me ask.
what would be on the menu. So I will do a nice take on the region that he comes from. Perhaps the farsan I will create in a different way with little global inspiration.
I hope he gets to see that one day.
I hope he gets to hear this first.
And what's your favorite indigenous ingredient to cook
Indian goat meat.
with? Ooh,
Yeah, I
and
love it.
your favorite foreign ingredient?
Uh, my favorite foreign ingredient would be I quite like caviar, which is wild, farm raised now because wild is not possible now, and goose liver pie.
That sounds nice. And one ingredient you think is quite underrated and people should use more often?
I think quite underrated is our very own mustard oil. It has such a brilliant flavor. And somewhere I think the olive oils and avocado oils and walnut oils of the world have taken over. It's time that I think we respect our mustard oil, and because believe me, the properties of mustard oil are as good, if not better, than the olive oil. And it can go a long way. So the more we start using, the better we are. And why spend so much of rupees and carbon footprints on importing something when you have so much of wealth of ingredient in your own backyard?
Absolutely, Chef Manisha. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time
Thank you. Thank you.
and for the wonderful conversation also.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of this conversation. Thank you to our viewers and like, share, and subscribe.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.